With prices continuing to increase in the United States today, it's increasingly important to find value where you can. Of course, earning more or spending less are great options, but what about those regular everyday expenses that you have to make, including rent, food, transit, and gas? The good news is that there are no annual fee credit cards, which can be a simple and easy way to get straightforward value back on those everyday purchases. And in this video, I'm going to cover the best no annual fee credit card setup so you can continue to maximize your points and cash back while doing so using 4 cards or less. And I first want to start out by explaining why you'd want to use a no annual fee credit card setup in the first place. In a world with so many credit card options, including those with premium perks and luxury travel benefits, it's easy to get carried away and get these cards, not realizing that they also come with drawbacks as well. A lot of these cards have high annual fees, and even if there are statement credits to offset these annual fees, these are often difficult to use and have restrictions such as where they can be used and how often you have to use them to get the full value. And so there's always going to be a balance of simplicity versus complexity when making a choice between no annual fee cards, luxury cards, or maybe even a combination of both. And I'll bet for a lot of you, having a simple, reliable, everyday setup using no annual fee cards can truly be a breath of fresh air. For one, if your credit card setup has no annual fees, you never, ever have to worry about recovering that annual fee and getting value back, which is usually charged up front when you first get an annual fee card. And since the way you get value is through spending multipliers on these no annual fee cards, it's probably a good idea to find a card with the best spending multipliers that you can. And there are 2 ways to do this. The first is to use a single card for 1 to 2 categories that gets the absolute highest multiplier possible, and then do this for every category that you have. And this is the most efficient, but in real life, this is not as simple. You can easily end up having 10 or more credit cards using this method, but if simplicity is what you're looking for, then there's definitely a better option. And that option is to try to get the highest multipliers you can in your everyday categories on the least number of cards. And this is the method that I recommend because, in my opinion, it has the highest chance of longevity and success when it comes to a stable credit card setup that brings you value every single day. Now, it's not just about earnings because there's another side to this equation, and that is the redemption side. In its most basic form, redemptions typically fall into one of 2 categories: cashback or travel. Cashback redemptions tend to be the easiest because you simply redeem your earnings for, you guessed it, cashback. Although you do have to be careful as some issuers will shortchange you those redemption options. These should only be redeemed at a minimum of 1 cent per point, meaning that you get 1 cent for every point earned. So for every 1,000 points, you should get $10 back. But the beauty of the cards in this setup is that even though a lot of these cards primarily earn points for cashback or cashback itself, some cards earn a flexible point currency that can be redeemed for travel or, even better, transferred out to transfer partners to maximize your redemption value. Of course, these flexible point currencies come with additional complexity, so you're going to have to figure out the right balance for you when it comes to the redemption side of things. Okay, so with all of that in mind, let's start with the first card in this setup, which is your core credit card. This card carries the highest number of elevated multipliers in multiple categories on a single card and serves as the core of your setup because every additional card will be built around it. And there is no better card that fits this purpose than the Wells Fargo Autograph card. At the time of the recording of this video, this card has a welcome offer of earning 30,000 bonus points after spending $1,500 in purchases in the first 3 months. And it's the multipliers on this card that makes it so special, as these categories are very common everyday expenses that you would make on a regular basis. It earns unlimited 3x points back on restaurants, travel, gas and EV charging, transit, popular streaming services, and phone plans, as well as 1x points back on all other purchases. Other benefits that come with this card include up to $600 of cell phone protection against damage or theft, subject to a $25 deductible. Of course, we can't forget that Wells Fargo has mentioned that transfer partners are coming to this card, and although the specific partners haven't been announced as of yet, as of the recording of this video, the prospect of that happening is very exciting. And when it comes to no annual fee cards of this caliber, there's simply no comparison. The only card that comes anywhere close to covering the same amount of categories is the Citi Premier card. Categories covered on that card include air travel, hotels, restaurants, gas stations, and supermarkets, but it comes with a $95 annual fee, so this really isn't an option for our no annual fee credit card setup. Now, going back to the Autograph card, when we look at the earnings, there's definitely a lot of coverage, but it's still missing a very important food category that everyone uses on a regular basis. And this category, of course, is the grocery category. Now, I'd like to have one card that covers all of the important categories, but a card like this is difficult to find, especially if we're only including credit cards with no annual fee. So we're looking for a card with a high multiplier in the grocery category, and this is why I like to call this card the secondary card. This card complements your core card, meaning that it's a card with a high multiplier in an everyday spending category that your core card doesn't cover. And there are a lot of choices when it comes to credit cards with a high grocery multiplier. In fact, I made a previous video going over the best grocery credit cards, so if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll link it up top as well as down in the description below. But the card that would be the best fit for this purpose would be the Capital One Saver One card. This card has a welcome offer of earning $200 after spending $500 within 3 months of account opening. It earns 5% cashback on hotels and rental cars booked through the Capital One travel portal, unlimited 3% cashback on dining, entertainment, popular streaming services, and at grocery stores, as well as 1% cashback on all other purchases. It also comes with some pretty nice benefits, including earning 10% cashback on purchases on Uber and Uber Eats, as well as getting your Uber One monthly membership fee covered through November 14th, 2024, as well as earning 8% cashback on Capital One entertainment purchases, as well as exclusive access and other cardholder perks. Now, taking a step back, we can see that this card has several overlapping categories with the Wells Fargo Autograph card, including a 3x multiplier on dining and popular streaming services, so it's really up to you to decide which card you want to use for these categories. Depending on which transfer partners end up on the Autograph card, it may be better to maximize the categories on that card, but it really depends on what you're looking for. But if you only plan on using the Capital One Saver One card to cover purchases at grocery stores, there's another option to consider, which is the AAA Daily Advantage Visa Signature Credit Card. Although both the Capital One Saver One and the AAA Daily Advantage cards have no annual fees and no foreign transaction fees, the AAA card has a higher grocery store cashback multiplier. It earns 5% cashback on grocery store purchases, 3% cashback on gas, EV charging stations, wholesale clubs, streaming services, pharmacy, and purchases at AAA, as well as 1% cashback on all other purchases. Now, there's a limit to those elevated multipliers, specifically up to $10,000 in spend in a calendar year on the 5% grocery store category and 3% wholesale club and gas and EV charging categories all combined. So this card may be a better option for you as a secondary card, so you'll have to figure out how you want to use this card, and that will help guide you to the right choice. Okay, so we have all our major spending categories covered, but there's one more category that's very important to consider because this may be your highest spending category and you may not even realize it. And that would be the everything else category. Most core cards and secondary cards typically have a 1x multiplier on the everything else category, which is okay, but we can definitely do better. And in my view, a 2% or 2x multiplier should be the absolute minimum for the next card in this setup, which is the catch-all credit card. Now, there are a lot of choices when it comes to which card to choose for this category, but since we're already using the Wells Fargo Autograph card, there's another card in this lineup that fits perfectly, and that would be the Wells Fargo Active Cash card. This card has a welcome offer of earning $200 cash rewards when you spend $500 in purchases in the first 3 months, earning unlimited 2% cash rewards on all purchases. And this is great because you can earn at least 2% cash back on everything that's not covered by the previous two cards. There's also the potential possibility to transfer points from this card to the Wells Fargo Autograph once that card gets transfer partners and be able to redeem those points for transfer partners too, but this hasn't been announced yet or implemented, so we'll have to see what happens. Like I mentioned before, there are other 2% cards that are also great options, and these include cards like the Citi Double Cash and the Fidelity Rewards Visa. But another card that is also very promising is the Alliant Visa Signature card. This card has no annual fee and no foreign transaction fees, and if you qualify for their Tier 1 rewards program, you earn 2.5% cashback on the first $10,000 of eligible purchases per billing cycle, and then unlimited 1.5% cashback after that. And to get into their Tier 1 reward system, there are several requirements such as opting into receiving e-statements, having at least one electronic deposit posted to an Alliant high-rate checking account each calendar month, and maintaining an average daily balance in that account of $1,000 or more. It's also important to note that new cardholders will automatically earn Tier 1 rewards for the first 100 days after card approval, so you have about 3 months to set up your accounts to meet those requirements. So if this card sounds like a better option for you, then definitely check it out because, as you can see, it could work great for our use case as a catch-all credit card. And the fourth card in this setup is called the Flex card. And it's not to show off or anything, but it's going to be the card that will help cover any additional specific spending categories that are not already covered by the previous 3 cards. For example, if you have a lot of expenses at home improvement stores or at drugstores, there are no annual fee cards out there that can specifically target these categories. And the best credit card choice for this, in my opinion, is the Citi Custom Cash Card. This card has a welcome offer of earning $200 cash back after spending $1,500 on purchases in the first 6 months of account opening. It earns 5% cash back on your top eligible spend category up to $500 each billing cycle. And these categories are shown here. But if we want to look at the categories that are not already covered in the setup already, that would include drugstores, home improvement stores, fitness clubs, and live entertainment. So you can see that even though there's some overlap with previous cards, there are some unique categories to choose from, and they can be covered at the 5% level. And this card is a fan favorite because of this flexibility. Every single month, you can decide to spend on a single category on this card, and you'll earn 5% cash back on that category. But you can decide to change it to something different the following billing cycle if you want. Another great card to consider is the US Bank Cash Plus card, which gets you 5% cash back on 2 categories you choose on up to $2,000 per quarter. But there's another very important category that we all spend money on, and specifically that would be housing. And so if you'd like to target that category, another option would be the Bilt MasterCard. The Bilt MasterCard doesn't have an official welcome offer, but it earns 3x points back on restaurants, 2x points back on travel, and 1x points back on rent on up to 100,000 points each calendar year. And with the points you earn, you're able to transfer these points out to Bilt's transfer partners so you can maximize your redemptions. Okay, so let's now look at all 4 of these cards and see how the entire setup works together. Our core credit card is the Wells Fargo Autograph card, earning unlimited 3x points back on restaurants, travel, gas and EV charging, transit, popular streaming services, and phone plans. Our secondary credit card is the Capital One Saver One card, earning unlimited 3% cash back on entertainment and at grocery stores. Our catch-all credit card is the Wells Fargo Active Cash Card, earning unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases. And our Flex card is the Citi Custom Cash Card, earning 5% cash back on our top eligible spend category up to $500 each billing cycle. But we could also consider using the US Bank Cash Plus card if we wanted to have 2 additional 5% categories for up to $2,000 in spend per quarter. Or this card could also be the Bilt MasterCard, earning 1x points back on rent up to 100,000 points each calendar year. And so those are the cards that make up the best no annual fee credit card setup. Again, it's really important to always take a step back and not just look at credit cards individually, but also how they work together so that you can create the best no annual fee credit card setup for your specific situation. And as grocery prices have continued to increase, it's more important than ever to select the right card for this purpose. So to see a full rundown of the best credit cards for grocery store purchases, check out this video next.